Welcome to the Every Night is Game Night preview series, the show where designers and publishers share their passion and answer critical questions about their Kickstarter projects. If you're on the fence about a pledge, this is the show for you.
Every Night is Game Night preview series, episode 43, Animal Kingdoms with Carla Kopp and Dan Letzring. Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome back to the Every Night is Game Night preview series. I'm your host, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a full house today to talk about yet another Kickstarter project that is has launched already. It launched a couple of days ago, and we're here to follow up and check in on Animal Kingdoms, the maiden voyage of Galactic Raptor Publishing. It is a two-headed beast, and we have both of those heads here with you today. First, I think I made a funny with two-headed beast over there.
That was good.
Someone's laughing. There we go. We got him. There's Dan Letzring, right? That's your real last name?
Yep, Letzring.
There's Dan Letzring laughing in the background from Lateman Games. He has merged and formed one half of Galactic Raptor. Dan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I believe we spoke about Neverland Rescue last time.
That's correct, yeah. We spoke about Neverland about probably 6 months ago or so.
Mm-hmm. And the other half of Galactic Raptor, I was actually going to do this first, but Dan jumped in there. We have Carla Kopp. She is of Weird Giraffe Games. And we spoke a little bit while ago about, I believe, Dreams of Tomorrow.
Yes,
Carla.
That's correct. Hi. Yes. I'm so excited to be on.
Yay. There it is.
Yay.
And of course, I have to have Liz here because Liz is our resident Kickstarter expert. Hey, Liz.
Hey, happy to be here again.
Liz from the Beyond Solitaire blog. If you go over to beyondsolitaire.org, there is a preview that Liz did for the game Animal Kingdoms that is on her site right now. So I had to tab Liz. She is an expert on the game, so she will be asking all sorts of questions, mechanics related. Right, Liz?
Yes, but it is beyondsolitaire.net.
No! I messed it up.
Ah!
So close.
You don't know your own friend's website? Ugh.
How dare you?
I have direct access to you, and I have like the little macros that just take me directly to your site. I don't type in who types in URLs for crying out loud. So I wanted to, before we get into Animal Kingdoms, that's why we're here. We're going to be talking about, actually, it's a 1 to 4 player game, right?
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
1 to 5, yes, 1 to 5, family friendly. Whoa. Before we get into this 1 to 5 game, with card played, area control, all that kind of stuff, I wanted to zoom the lens out a little bit and talk about Galactic Raptor. So I'm interested, ENGN, we had an episode a couple of weeks ago talking about mergers. A lot of mergers happening. Asmodee kind of set the pace, but then other companies have responded. Right, so you have Born and Dice and SK merging. You have Victory Points getting merged into the big Starling Games imprint. You have Stronghold Games. That's the one. They merged with Indie Games of Cards. Now you guys, you guys were doing your thing. You guys were successful putting out your games, and then you decided to make this new company. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that whole process and what went into it, and what it's been like so far.
So it's kind of different than the ones that you talked about because those were all mergers where the other companies, I believe, are all gone now. But with us, we each still, like Letterman Games is still there, Weird Giraffe Games is still there, but we have Galactic Raptor Games where we're both working together and we're creating things just together. And I think it's really cool because, if you like Weird Giraffe Games, you'll probably like Galactic Raptor Games because, they have the same sort of feel. But when me and Dan work on the same game together, we have, this synergy going on, and it has its own, uniqueness going on.
Dan, do you kind of agree that, I guess Carl talked about a little bit about, game development side of things. Is that kind of where you were thinking in terms of Galactic Raptor?
Yeah, so originally she and I both wanted just more from our companies, and we just couldn't physically do it ourselves. And so we had talked online previously, and we kind of threw out the idea of it, but then we met in person. and we started talking more about it, and we were actually at Proto Atlanta, and we started like thinking about, okay, what games here could we sign? And like we really started talking about making it a thing. And so then we decided that, yeah, if we were going to do this, probably the best way for us to go forward is to form a company together and kind of just work on that and do it 50-50. And yeah, like she said, it's been synergizing and just kind of a different life. It's similar to our solo companies, but different in that we're each putting our little touches on it and making it kind of a mesh of the two. And it's going really well so far.
All right. I guess I'm curious about that because, like, I think of, because you have Groves and also Neverland Rescue and Carla, you have a whole bunch of games. I mean, Liz can probably tell you way more about Weird Giraffe because you demoed your face off at PAX Unplugged, and you've done previews for, what was it, Stellar Leap and Dreams of Tomorrow and a lot of these other games. Like, they feel like they could have been made by the same company. These kind of lightweight, not mean, interact, kind of family friendly, cuter themes, but not like dumbed down. But there's like some strategic depth. Like you managed to kind of hit that kind of 2.5 weight pretty solidly. Help me understand, like because it feel like they come from the same company.
We both have different opinions development wise too. Sometimes, I mean, yes, the games are similar, but we both have sometimes different visions, and we kind of meld just how certain mechanics or things might get resolved within the game. But we also bring different aspects to the game publishing platform of it. So we both have certain strengths in, say, managing a Kickstarter versus fulfillment of a Kickstarter. So we're actually hoping that, it's not just about the game we're putting out there, but kind of the whole running of the company, that not only can we do it as well as our companies before, but like take it to another level, just because we both have different strengths and we're going to utilize those as to, what we do best. And we're, kind of delegating the tasks in such a way that we can both bring our best game to each portion of being a publisher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really agree with that. Like, for instance, I know a lot about going to conventions, and Dan hasn't done that. But Dan, like, he actually enjoys, like, the fulfillment aspect of it, which I don't know, that's, like, the worst thing ever for me. So, I mean,
you enjoy the fulfillment? That's a weird thing to enjoy.
He finds it fulfilling.
It's so fulfilling.
Oh, I see what you did.
Yeah, no, I enjoy, managing the fulfillment. I've done self-fulfilling. I've used a lot of fulfillment companies, coordinating the freight, doing a lot of things like that, working with distribution and getting the games out there in that sense of it. So I do a lot of the post-Kickstarter movement of the games well, and Carla obviously does the great management of campaigns and coordinating interviews and dealing with all the marketing and, we were talking before we even got on here about the little things like needing images for the campaign page, and we both can kind of do that, but we don't always have time for it. So we're like, oh, can you do this image? And the other person will be able to do it, and things just get done a lot faster and a lot smoother when there's two of us coordinating that.
Okay. We talked a little bit about like the kinds of games that both Weird Giraffe and Letzring Games, and then or Lateman Games, sorry about that. That Weird Giraffe and Lateman Games do, and then this game kind of falls into that mode. So before we even get going, just a public service announcement to you game designers: if you guys have like some mean take that game, then don't do not talk to these people. Yeah, that tweet, Carla. I think it was a tweet where you were like, if somebody else pitches me some mean, take that game.
I don't know. I try to be really explicit. So like on my contact page, I'm like, I don't like take that games. I don't like war games. And then I get all these emails and they're like, oh, I know you don't like take that games, but you'll love this take that game. And I'm like, oh, no, I won't.
But I'm different.
We're all actually playing this mean meta take that game where Carla doesn't know it, but we're all sending all the pitches for take that's to her. So someone's like, oh, I've got this great take that game. We're like, you know who'd love that? Send that along to Carla. And she has no idea, but we're all doing that to her.
I mean, like, that would actually, like, make more sense than all these people just going, like, oh, she'll like my take that game. Like, really?
It's pretty funny that they love to. They're like, oh, you know who'd love this? I'm gonna pitch this to Carla. Like, no, don't do that.
It's like, well, and I get like adult games and stuff too, and it's like, no, I specifically wanted to be like family and work friendly. Like I don't mean for kids, but like I want you to be able to play this at work, and you can't play that like drinking game at work. Like, what is this?
Or like Kama Sutra with the positions and the balloon and oh god.
The number of times I've gotten that too, it's like, we've seen what you like for backing games. Why don't you check this one out? I'm like, you obviously haven't, because that's nothing like what I even look at. Stop that.
All right, but so we got Animal Kingdom. So we're talking about all these games that are off-brand. Let's get to the
Carla, I
first.
have a great pitch for you. It's Discovery Channel themed. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. I mean, it depends on what part of Discovery Channel, okay? Like I got really excited because I'm like, yes, I want games about learning. And then I was like, oh, it could be the bad part of Discovery Channel. It's like, you never know.
That is so funny. All right, well, let's get to Animal Kingdoms. That is what the people are here for. They're like, what are you guys talking about? Hey, we're having fun. Leave us alone. Anyway, so Animal Kingdoms, award-winning game of area control. I wasn't aware that this was a project. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, this project. And, I mean, was it a game before? And did it win an award in a kind of previous iteration? Or how did that go out? How did that work out?
So in 2018, that was before it had been signed or anything, Steve and Armini put it in for the Cardboard Edison Awards, and it won. Dan can go more into that because he actually saw it before it hit the Cardboard Edison Awards. But yeah, the Cardboard Edison, they do a big award every year. I'm actually one of the judges this year, and I'm super excited about that.
What is it? Is it like an Unpub type award or?
It's for games that haven't been signed yet.
Okay.
Yeah, some previous winners were, did you see The Blood of an Englishman? I think
Yes.
Renegade published it a few years ago. That won it, I think, 3 years ago. So some decent games have come out of it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have to say that Big Easy Busking was not a winner, but it was, I think either second or third place, in 2017. Just throwing that out there.
Speaking of the expertise in getting the word out about your Kickstarters, there it is.
I'm just saying that games that do good on Cardboard Edison are typically pretty good games.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
And you should pitch them to us because we love them.
Yes.
Those games you can pitch. All right, so we have so maybe break down the basics of Animal Kingdoms. It looks like a little bit of area control. I don't even know what to call that. That's not quite area control. Maybe you can kind of break down what's actually happening.
Okay, so in the game, there's 5 different kingdoms, and each of these kingdoms is different in that they each have a different number of spaces in them, but each round, there's 3 different rounds, there's going to be a different decree in each kingdom. So the decrees basically tell you if you can play into that kingdom or not. They can be really simple, and they could be this. In this decree, you can only play Bs and O copies into this kingdom. Or they could be a little harder, where they depend on either the 2 neighboring kingdoms or all the rest of the kingdoms. One of them is you can't play any other beast that's in another kingdom. So you have to really plan for those decrees that are a lot harder than the other ones. So as you're playing the game, you're trying to get the most cubes in the kingdoms of your choice. And another thing about the game is that there's victory points that you put out at the beginning of the game, and for the first round are the lower number of points, and then it escalates for the higher number of points in the third round. But these points that you put out are random. So there could be one kingdom that's just a 5, 5, 6 kingdom where it's that's not that many points. But another kingdom could be a 8, 9, 10 kingdom. So you really want to get that kingdom. So as you're playing each round, the kingdoms start filling up. And there's one very special spot, the king spot. When you play into this king spot, you are then done for the round. However, when the cleanup happens at the end of the round, all the other tokens are taken away, but the one in that king spot gets to actually stay there until the next round. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get if you know that another kingdom will be worth a lot in the last round, you want to try to get into the king spot of that kingdom so that you already have somebody there when the time comes.
It sounds, I mean, I know that's a very different game, but in terms of the actual experience of playing a card into a kingdom, it sounds a little bit like Ethnos. Am I totally off on that? Where there's different zones, and when you play into the zones, you can kind of, position and get points, and the points are variable. So sometimes the zone is like not valuable, but then the next round it's like super valuable, and it kind of rotates a little. Am I kind of in the same ballpark there?
Yeah, so Ethnos did inspire the way we did the scoring that we changed to. There was a different scoring method beforehand, but outside of that and it being area control for the points, there's not there's not that many similarities. But yeah, like the scoring definitely was inspired by that. It was a really nice method of doing the scoring, and when we tried it with this, it just worked really, really well for this game system.
Right. So yeah, that's what I thought. Just for the scoring system, what would you say is a good analog for just kind of the basic experience of the game? Like, what kind of headspace should people be getting into when they get into Animal Kingdoms?
So it's hard. It's hard because so it has this nice broad reach where it's simple in the way it plays, but it's depth in how you approach it. So each individual kingdom, like they have very similar feels. Like some are just, you have to go in numerical order. So the first card played there has to be a 1, and then the next one has to be a 2. Some are plus or minus 1, so it always has to be within one of the card played before it. So they have similar feels when you play those to like Uno type classic, card games you might have grown up with. But there's like a lot of depth and strategy in how you play them, how you manage your hand, how you, when you want to go out and reserve your cube for later rounds. And so it's nice that it has this similar feel that you could get people who aren't really into games into playing it, because how you actually play it is really, really simple. But then as you play it and you learn how you actually have to be strategic about how you play and how your decisions really last from round to round, you start to develop these lasting strategies that it just... you could play it with very little headspace and you probably won't do as well, but you could get it and grasp it and teach it really easily. Mm-hmm. But, it takes a little bit more to really outwit everyone else you're playing with.
Yeah, the game is like really approachable. Like the cards in your hand, they have a certain animal on them and they have a certain number on them. And you can play them in the kingdoms that you want to. So you can get like non-gamers to easily come and play a game and understand it. But to actually win the game, that requires a lot of strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, you were asking kind of how this fits with Carla and my previous games, and I think for both of us, this is probably our most approachable game for people of all type that we've both ever done. Like, I think this one is really broad-reaching in who it can access, because I think gamers are really going to like it, but I think it's a really easy pull for anyone, like for families with, if you're going to a family outing and you have mom there or grandma or someone that doesn't really play games, it's really easily approachable for people who aren't typically playing strategy games as well too. And so I think for both of us, this might be our broadest reaching game for the type of people that could play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like everyone's played Uno, and everyone's played like I noticed that like some of the decrees, the rules of the games, like put cards in descending order. That's pretty easy. I've done that before.
Exactly, right.
Klondike Solitaire and some of these, but that's not the only one. Like you have ones that like place cards of a certain type and play cards in a certain sequence. Like there's a lot of different ways to kind of manipulate what's going on the board, and then they change every round. So it's not you're just kind of doing the same things. Like I imagine there's like a decree dump, and then you kind of do new decrees.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't know, like, will one like kingdom that you really want to go into next round, will that have an easy decree or will it have a really hard decree? Like, you can't really anticipate.
Yeah, and I think so. You talked about... Oh, sorry, Liz, you can go. I
I was just going to say, so I did the solo preview for this game, but I'm actually really looking forward to teaching it to students at the game club at the high school where I work, because I feel like it'll just be a really nice, quick game to teach kids. And I think that they're really going to enjoy it. It really is that kind of accessible. So it was fast playing as a solo game and really enjoyable, but I also like that the rules are simple enough that I would feel very comfortable just teaching that to anybody.
How does the solo work, Liz?
Well, so
since you put it on the spot there.
as is to be expected with any game that Carl works on, it will have a cool bot to fight against. So, Carl, one of the things I really like about your solo games generally is that rather than, beat your own score, there's actually always a bot to pitch yourself against. And in this case, you are up against this robot player that is very, very low upkeep, but is also extremely annoying in all the best ways when you're trying to play a solo game. So,
One card is like, screw you.
Yeah.
Dump half your cards.
We're talking about these decrees, right? So you have to obey these placement rules. The robot does not care about your rules. So you just draw a card off the top of the deck and you place it based on the number on the card. So if it's in a kingdom, if the number on the card matches, the territory numbers of a kingdom is like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you place it there. But if you draw 1, 2, or 3, the robot decides to come and hang out with you and like plays where you just put a card. So you can be like, ha, I'm pulling ahead in this kingdom. And then you pull a 2 and you're like, no. And the robot comes and just hangs out. And then there's depending on the difficulty level of the robot that you choose, because you can ratchet the difficulty up or down, it has a greater or lesser chance of beating you in battles over kingdoms if there's a tie. And there's also a robot bonus card where if the robot pulls a card off of the deck that matches the number or the animal on a card, it gets to play 2 cards in that round. So it just keeps you really fighting for advantage in those kingdoms. It was like uncanny how often that robot did the exact thing I did not want it to do.
I mean, Carla, like we've talked about it before on different shows. I mean, your bots tend to you have a robotics background, so you kind of have a feel for how a robot would approach this, and it just feels like you're able to kind of fit stuff into there every time, which is a really cool thing. Which is really cool for you to be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. Like, solo design, like, I started it because somebody was like, why don't you do a solo design? And I was like, why don't I? But then since I've been starting, it's like, it's super fun to try to like figure out a way that I can so I have to beat the thing that I just created. So I just go back and forth and I'm like, oh, okay, this robot, it was just too easy. So I have to make it a little harder. And then I have to like keep playing and go like, oh, that was super hard. But was it super hard or am I just really bad at this now? Like,
Okay, so I mean, I think we covered the game and we covered the solo mode, which is something that's going to be of appeal to our audience. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to get the word out about? I mean, the project is live as we speak right now. We're recording beforehand, so we don't know how well he's doing, first aid, and all that kind of stuff. But maybe talk a little bit about the campaign extras, all that kind of thing.
So we have some really cool campaign extras, which are the deluxe version of the game. So it comes with card sleeves, but it also comes with these super cool meeples. And right now, well, in the beginning, we're going to have 3 different meeples. There's going to be an alligator, a rhino, and a bear. And they're super cute. But I guess I'm biased because I was like directing like, oh yeah, make that horn on the rhino. It needs to be a little more than it is right now. So I made like the perfect meeples for me. But I think they're really, really awesome and adorable. And like, so each player also gets all 3 of those meeple types instead of like other games where you only get 1 meeple type. So maybe you want to like put the rhino in the forest for reasons. I think it'll just make the game better. Like, I like weird reasons for doing things. Like in games, like where you're like, well, this rhino, he needs to go into this habitat, therefore I'm playing this card. But as the campaign goes on, we might just have some stretch goals to have different meeple shapes, like more than 3. And we're also open to different ideas on the meeple shapes, like maybe a penguin or something, because, I mean, penguins.
How many penguin meeples are there, really? Come on now.
Well, so we already have the okapi on a card. So we decided, there's a lot of animals out there. Let's not double it up. That's why all the meeples are different than the ones on the card. So it would have to be a regular giraffe. But how many games out there have both an okapi and a regular giraffe?
I think we're going to be the only one, yeah.
Well, if we reach
y'all are
that
pioneers in this.
We need to promote that. That needs to be our ads. The only game with okapis and giraffes.
Yes. I mean, like, people that know what okapis are, like, I walk around at cons with the shirts and the buttons and stuff, and people are like, you know what an okapi is? And I'm like, yes, I do. Do you want this button? And, like, people that know what okapis are, like, they just instantly bond together because, like, this is not a thing that I guess regular people know. I mean, you have to go visit Disney and see it for real, and then you're like, whoa, this is thing that exists.
All right, Dan, any last words about the project?
No, like she said, we have a lot of great things coming, and if people want to talk to us about this project, or even like you said, pitching games to us, we're both very accessible. We're both online a lot on all sorts of social media, and so please feel free to reach out to us, ask us any questions you have about this game or what we're looking for, and don't hesitate to approach us, and don't be shy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually love board games and talking about them, so feel free to do that.
All right. So this was Galactic Raptor Games. Good luck on the project, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. It's really great talking to you again.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Good luck on the campaign, guys, and happy gaming.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you, Liz.
You too.
All right, so we're in a little bit of an after show mode over here. Before the call, we were talking about predictions for 2019. Dan is on the, I'm going to get this title wrong, so which podcast are you going to be popping on?
Breaking into board games.
Yep, breaking into board games. I was going to say Breaking Bad board games. That was not correct. That is not
Making
good.
drugs while we make board games.
You can tell this is the after show.
Or is it just making very addictive board games?
That works too. Yeah, we'll go with that one.
This is the Dice Tower Network, people. Come on.
That's right. And what they're going to do over there is or it may have launched by the time you hear this episode, but we're getting into some predictions for 2019. And I figured, why not? Let's see if we could kind of predict the future a little bit in an after show over here. So what do we think? Dan, I don't know. I know you don't want to spoil too much because you have a little bit of overlap, but I don't know if you had any kind of thoughts about a prediction for the future. Maybe you can kind of give a preview.
Yeah, I mean, if this is coming out after the episode, then I'm okay with telling you. Yeah, so I think for me, what I think is going to happen in the next year, I'd like to see exploring game space. So things like Nyctophobia, where there's more 3D boards and, there's a lot more up versus just a flat game is going to be really interesting. Stonehenge in the Sun, where you're swinging the ball around and knock Stonehenge over. Games like Potion Explosion that are more tactile with the marbles. I think there's going to be a lot of exploring just new components and 3D space versus just normal playing cards down or things like that. There's more building or knocking things over, or just like Rhino Hero style games that are dexterity and tactile experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nyctophobia, if people don't know, that's the game. It was designed by, I forget what the...
Catherine Stipple?
Yeah.
Thank you.
She is an amazing person and designer, and I don't know, somebody might have signed her next game.
We're not at liberty.
What?
Who knows?
But if you don't know, she designed a game she wanted to play with a family member who was blind. So she designed this game, and I think it's one person who can see the board, but the other people have goggles on, basically, and they're kind of like have to in a tactile way, kind of manipulate the board. I don't want to spoil it too much because there's a lot going on in the game, but it's like, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah. You know?
So that game, like, that is the most emotions I've ever felt in the game. Like, it is really good. Like, if you had, like, a horror board game, like, that would be exactly that.
Yeah, it was great. She goes to school about 3 hours from where I live, and she was driving through. So I got to play with her where she was the axe murderer and she could see. And she ran it for me and my wife were both playing, and we were the ones trapped in the woods and we couldn't see. It was great. It was a really fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Carla,
really gonna try this now.
It's a really I haven't played it.
You can't play it solo.
Nope. Impossible. As you know, Liz,
we only top 10 for the year. Just see what people say to that.
As you know, Liz, we only play games solo. We don't play any games with people because we hate people.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, when we were at PAX, we played no games together. None.
0 games. Yeah, I just sat off in the corner by myself, you know.
I was gonna say you all just sat next to each other playing solo games, not talking at all.
Yeah, so like when I demoed, people just watched me play, and like that was the demo.
So I've let you off the hook long enough, Carla. Do you have did you come up with a prediction? Something that you think might happen in 2019? Okay, you got something for me.
Okay, so 2019. Well, 2018 for like media and stuff, like we had a lot of diversity. Like there was Crazy Rich Asians, there was Black Panther. Like you got to actually like see diverse people like on the screen and stuff like that. And I think that's gonna come to board games too, where we're gonna have like cool different themes, like a lot of different kinds of people like working on games and creating cool things.
You stole mine.
That'd be perfect.
Man.
That would be great.
I mean, maybe you could steal it for breaking into board games, I guess.
It was funny because I just did a episode on games with non-traditional themes, and I invited a couple of folks on there like Sarah Reed and Elizabeth Hargrave, you know, makers of kind of weirdo off beaten path games. And in order, the point of the episodes was like, in order to get diverse games, you kind of need diverse people making the games. So I was looking for like an African American designer. Like I know Eric Lang is African American, but like I guess an African designer, someone who is from or like a totally different culture, like that's steeped in like a non-North American context. So maybe this is not a prediction, this is more of a hope, but like that's somebody who is, you know, from that kind of background is gonna make a game that breaks through.
Well, I would hope, like, so I've been, like, trying to search for, like, diverse designers to sign their games, and, like, it's really hard, but, like, if that is something, like, if you're listening to this and you are a diverse designer, like, I would love to talk to you, because, like, I would love to do, like, an Afro-futuristic game, but I can't do that.
Yeah,
like, that would be so cool, but I cannot do that alone. Like, I would not try to approach that without somebody that would know more of the culture and stuff like that. So
Agreed. And I think, you know, like everyone says too, that when we're doing that with designers and approaching games like that, it's also important artists who understand the nuances that you're looking for to encapsulate it as well. Because you could, you know, have the best intentions and then you just, you know, like you said, hire some, like an artist not of that culture that just misses on every note that they're trying to hit with the characters and the feel of the world. And so I think, just branching out and getting, like you said, more diverse people who are working on the games in all aspects of it is really, I think, a goal for all of us. At least Carla and I have, you know, like we talk about all the time that we're looking for, you know, we're open to any pitches that anyone's willing to submit to us, no matter who you are. And if you're an underrepresented group, we're happy, you know, we're not going to turn you away and we're going to look at every game. So, you know, please feel free to approach us and let us know if you have something for us.
Well, like, I'm specifically looking for that. Like, I've been posting in, like, the women and board game groups and stuff like that. So I would just love it to, like be, well, like, you have to do the thing. Like, if I want to see more diverse board games, then I have to be part of creating them.
Right. Yep. I think we were talking earlier, and I think only 33% of my games coming out this year are from white males. Everyone else is females or minorities, which is, you know, it's great. Yeah.
Cool.
I just want to say I hope that y'all's predictions come true because I want to play all these games.
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right, Liz, what's a prediction that will never come true?
Ooh, okay, so I actually worry this prediction will never come true. I think that we're going to see a decline in successful Kickstarter campaigns for board games that are pricing at $100 minimum and going up from there. I think that I personally can't take any more of those financially, and I cannot be the only one who can't just keep throwing money at these bigger games, even if they look really exciting. So I'm hoping that the market trend is going to come down a little bit, and we'll have more interesting games that don't require like a huge investment to play.
Well, you know, I agree with you, and I'm the same way because I don't throw a lot of money at campaigns like that because I just can't afford it. But my next game is going to be my most expensive and biggest one yet. It's going to be like $80. Yeah.
Oh no!
I know. It's for Letterman Games, not for our joint company, and it's hard because I like to put out affordable games that are, you know, priced reasonably and anyone can get. But this one necessitates the high price range, you got to do it, and we can't cut much because it'll affect the game. But at the same time, I'm like, what are we doing?
It's funny. I think Liz has her finger on something, because I'm noticing that more non-Kickstarter. I mean, a lot of these games come on Kickstarter, but like a lot of kind of like intentional retail games are kind of raising in price. So like Gen 7 was $100. Like, what? You know, this is not a big minis expense. It's just like a box full of stuff, you know? Your game and like a game like The Reckoners, like, you know, these aren't like big minis fest. These aren't whatever, like, but they're rising in price and they're raising in component quality. And the minis games are not $100 anymore. They're $120, $130, and $140. How high can you go?
I don't want to live in a world where every 3 to 4 board games is like a PlayStation.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, or like instead of getting that one game, you could get like 5 games
or 15. Yeah,
you get a whole. Oh, you could buy Button Shy, all of it.
Well, I was so excited for the Harry Potter miniatures game, and then to go all in, it was almost $400. I was like, nope, I'm out.
Oh, God.
And it's just, right? Yeah, if you wanted, because you could get the base game for like $150 or $200, but then they had like Dumbledore's Army and all these other character packs, and it's like, if you want everything, it's just not affordable. So one of my friends was getting it, and I was like, whatever, I'll just play her copy because I can't afford this.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I talk to Liz about this all the time. I'll back it, but if it's not like the pristine game that must be in my collection, I'll just sell it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll move this on. Somebody's going to want it. Like, I'm going to review it for the podcast, or I'll just kind of get it for my own enjoyment. And then it's like, well, somebody's going to want it, so here you go.
That's great, though. At least you're not just, throwing it out. You're finding a home for it where it's going to get used. So that's great, too.
Yeah, and what happens is a lot of people, they don't back. Like, they may even have the means, but they don't back because you can't play it. And then they get it, and the FOMO hits. It's like, oh! Like Root was the big one for that this year. Like it was a successful campaign, but it didn't like blow the doors off. And then Root actually came out, and people were like, I can't get this anywhere. What's happening? So it was like, it somewhat pays off to like, actually kind of get, fund these games, get them, and just to like, play them and let people know. It's like, okay, this is pretty good. This is something that's worth your time, but this is something that's not worth your time. I think that's even that could be like a valuable service. And it's like, all right, I can try to make it work and, I'll figure it out. I wish there was a way to kind of the whole Kickstarter model, how it's drifted from like, funding these kind of incomplete-ish games and like helping a creator realize their stuff to basically a pre-order system where I can't play the game. That part isn't the happiest part of Kickstarter. I don't know.
Yeah, I have some reservations about that too. I mean, obviously I'm a participant. I'm not like so upset at the Kickstarter model that I'm not engaging in backing games, because that would be a lie. But but I would like to see things kind of toned down a little bit. And I'd like to see the price creep just has to pull back, because like, I'm a reviewer, but I'm not a big enough reviewer that I can get whatever I want for free.
Yeah. Which, I mean, look, like Animal Kingdom is $30. That's great. Wow.
Yeah. Although I think I'm going to need to find the 45 for those special meeples.
Cute meeples. Yeah, but I think you're right I think a lot of people have been posting about burnout, and just that not only are games so expensive, but so many are coming out and they're just not playing them or getting to them. So they have huge shelves of unplayed games, and to spend $80 more for games that aren't going to be played is even worse, right? So if you're paying $80 and getting 10 plays out of it, or even 5 plays out of it, great, but half of them aren't even getting played. And so you're just piling up expensive games, and it's at some point you just got to kind of stop and assess what you're doing.
Yeah, I suspect that what may be happening too is that I think our hobby is growing a lot right now, which means that a whole lot of different groups of board gamers in succession are going through that really early phase of like, I have to have everything. They're all so exciting. And then you slow down like the longer you've been in the hobby. So I think like as we have these faster generations of new people coming in, which is great, we also have larger groups of people who are willing to buy, and it's not the same people every time, and eventually we're going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Or then the industry could just keep growing. Maybe.
It's also possible, yeah. No, I mean, look at us, right? We're trying to put out more games each year between the two of us. That's why we're doing this. So we're trying to help it grow. And
yeah, but I can afford y'all's games.
Well, and we're trying to go like the entry level, like where Well, both of us try to make games that you could introduce to people that don't know games, but like that you can also play with gamers that fulfill those two different groups. And all these big games are like, you need people that can actually sit down for 4 hours and play this game, and that's not everyone.
Yeah,
That's not anyone.
Or, even like one thing we tried to do. So for my next game, the one that's so expensive, it's got multiple encounters that you go through, kind of like Descent or Gloomhaven style. But one thing we do differently is each encounter is about 45 to 60 minutes tops, maybe. So you could play through 3 or 4 encounters in a night really easily without burning a whole night, whereas it's not a 3.5-hour experience for one encounter. And so it's something that you can play through and actually get through. And so even though it's a campaign, it's not like extremely exhausting because, we tried to make it reasonable encounters, and there's still a lot of feel to it, and you still get the full experience of it. And so it's not cutting it short, but it's just not killing your night with one 3.5-hour campaign or a scenario from it. So
yeah. All right, so it is 8:50. You are about to record a podcast. Carla, I imagine that you are about to post media and engage with more fans. So thank you so much. This was really fun. It's always really fun to talk to you guys. When you hit me up on Twitter, I was like, oh, I get to talk to these guys again. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm sure, we both have a lot of projects in the works, both solo and together, so I'm sure we'll be pinging you again soon to talk more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe even next month, maybe.
Yeah, Carla's got something really soon. And then I may have something April or May, so I may be reaching out then.
All right. Well, good luck with the project. Liz, thank you as always for backing me up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.